For horror, it seems the genre has been largely dominated, probably from its beginnings, by the supernatural. I mean, obviously, you have elements of it with the likes of the classic Universal monsters and those characters that are all delve into the supernatural and some amount of science fiction and that sort of thing. Science fiction and horror cross over quite a bit here and there. A lot of ways, a lot of the space invader movies type things, War of the Worlds and stuff like that, can be of the horror genre and just the fear that invokes. The other aspect would be when it doesn't involve any of that. But you could have a scenario of something like a serial killer on the loose, or just a slasher. There was quite a few slasher movies that didn't involve supernatural elements. There were certain films that would suggest perhaps the killer is some sort of demonic creature of some sort, possessed or what have you, but not full on saying it, like Michael Myers and the like, that sort of thing. But there were others that, it's just some crazy guy. But it's still seen as horror, but others that are a bit more subdued, but there's still an awful lot of fear at play through the mood of it. And oftentimes those are referred to as thrillers, to some extent. And yet the crossover is so much so and blurred. I suppose like thriller becomes more of an offshoot of horror, within the genre of horror. It's like science fiction can be within it, but then, is a murder mystery. Those are just referred to as mysteries, and a lot of times it comes about of just solving the case. Certainly Columbo would never be seen as a horror series of any sort, especially since the crime is pretty much solved from the get-go. But if you'd done it a different way where you didn't quite know who the killer was and the detectives got to find out, and there's always some element of danger possibly to it, but it's not quite fitting within any kind of aspect of the horror genre. The thriller was tossed around a bit, and I always come back to things like The Hitchhiker Story, which was originally a radio play. And Orson Welles did it for Suspense, which Suspense had a lot of horror stories in it, but you could have some that it has more to do with the thriller genre. And yet, Orson Welles himself referred to it as a thriller. And yet, The Hitchhiker's a ghost story. That's what it is. Now, it ended up being readapted for Twilight Zone, but it's that story. The mysterious hitchhiker and so on. So I don't know. It's a strange thing, but there are movies that I immediately take to be horror movies, and others, no, it's not, because there's no monster or creature in the woods or something like that. There's no ghosts. There's no demonic possession. So it's not horror. And it's like, but was it scary? Oh yeah. It was terrifying. Okay, it's horror. And maybe it has to have more of a weird element to it. I know, but then again, the hitchhiker, and why wasn't that? I don't know. But anyway, nevertheless, such is the case for Within the Pines. I'm saying this is a horror movie. Because of the elements of terror that's in this, and all it is, there's no monsters. There's other than humans. There's nothing supernatural, or is there? No, there isn't. There's nothing. Basically, you got this guy. Sounds like he's in a bad place in his life. I guess facing a divorce, that sort of thing. But his career is he's a sound man, so he goes and records sounds for use of in probably movies and television, maybe music and whatnot. But anyway, so off he goes for the weekend to go into the woods alone with his sound equipment and record the sounds of the ambiance of this forest. And so there you go. He's in there. And the movie makes great use of the aspect of less is more. And if there's any flaw in it, I would say they needed a little more of that, where the entirety of it is his vantage point, because there's a lot of mystery and a lot of things you don't quite know what's happening here and why the things happen the way they did. You can guess pretty easily, but ultimately it's kind of left open, and that's an interesting way to do it. And if you frame it right, but here, well, they jump a couple of scenes, and I was like, I mean, I understand what they're doing and a setup for what happened, and how the thing is resolved, at least for the ending. There's still some questions left in the open there, but nevertheless, I think it would have been better if it just focused and you're only seeing it through him, not literally like a found footage thing where he's holding the camera. That wouldn't make any sense. I mean, unless he was also a video guy. But I need to get some sound effects too. No. It's almost close to that, just in the sense that you're just with him out there in the woods and stuff. But no, it's not that. So he's, of course, what's going to happen? He's recording something, and, you hear birds and stuff like that, the sounds of nature, the wind blowing through the trees, all that stuff, all the ambiance of a forest and whatnot. Oh, it's just great. And then, wait a minute, what was that? So, yes, he hears something he was not meant to hear. The curiosity gets the better of him. He looks into it, and now he's in serious trouble. He gets lost in the woods. He gets stuck. He's hunted, and eventually he delves further into this and gives full view of what's going on. Does what he can. Makes use of his abilities with his equipment and stuff like that. And, I won't spoil everything. And I recommend it. It's good. It's quick. It's not a very long film. It's rather quiet in a lot of ways, except for the tension building, for what's happening. And ultimately, like I said, there's some questions left open, but you can kind of gather from what you see there. Now, some of the things, I guess they had to cut away to this other scene to show you and give you more information about why this was happening and that sort of thing. But even that, it's kind of just giving you a clue. Yeah, you can gather who these people are and that sort of thing, and what drove them to this or what have you. But ultimately, you get to the same point, even if you didn't do any of that. And it's just this sound man comes upon this, and he's like, oh my God, what's this crazy crap, going on here, And I think it might have been stronger and played out that way. I mean, a lot of it is kind of, it's, he's out in the woods recording. Oh, what's he gonna hear? And so that leads you into the story and plot of the film. But it's all very well done, well shot, performed, and everything, with virtually no dialogue at all. And occasionally, the guy kind of talks to himself, that sort of thing. But ultimately, at a very minimal, and it's to its strengths. It would be kind of, it would kind of take you out of the immersion of the film if you just started narrating it or something like that. You're experiencing what he's experiencing, with the way it's presented. So that works out very well. So other than that, I think it's a fine film for what it's, and I think it mostly succeeds with what it's trying to do. And it's just, I think it needed to be closed down a little bit more, not cut away to another scene like that. But that's just my little bit part of it. Other people probably, it's fine. So I Yeah, Within the Pines. It's good. I enjoyed it. Very simple, to the point, and well crafted. Immediately, I don't know that there's very many sound men films. I think the only thing I came to mind when I just happened to pass upon the title and, oh, what's this? And look at it, and, oh, I got to look that up. And watched it, but was Blowout with John Travolta, which that's what he did. He was a sound man. They were recording sound effects, and whoops, they recorded something they weren't supposed to hear. And now that's a more complex film and whatnot, and I got to revisit that. That would make a good one for Nailsin ratings. But other than that, I don't know. There's probably some others, but just the angle of how your story's going to unfold. Now, Blowout, that's more in the thriller and murder mystery genre. This one is just the sheer terror of this guy who stumbles into something he wasn't meant to find out about. First hear, then see. And then he's trapped alone in the woods. And he's got to figure out how to survive this and that kind of. And that's the horror. That's the terror that he experiences. Within the Pines.